Thank you to those of you that have joined us so far. We're still having people trickle in, but we're going to go ahead and start. Good morning again. My name is Roxana Beck-Mohammadi. I am the founder and executive director of the United States Hydrogen Alliance. USHA, which is our abbreviated name, was founded in 2020, initially as the Western States Hydrogen Alliance. And that was to ensure that we took lessons learned in the California hydrogen market landscape, and we went eastward into 13 other states. 3 weeks after the bipartisan infrastructure law was passed, we actually went national. We work on a state-by-state basis to promote hydrogen policies that will enable the hydrogen industry. And ideally, we are growing 50 unique but homogenized marketplaces across the US. We're really excited to kick off our webinar series with Zero Emission Industries. Zero Emission Industries is one of our founding members, and we're so grateful to their support for this organization. And we're so excited for them to showcase something that we think will be extremely supportive of the industry. If you have any questions, please feel free to put your questions in the Q&A. If you would like to chat with us, go ahead and use the chat function. I know that we have a raised hand, so if you can send me a message, that would be much appreciated. And I'm actually going to go ahead and hand it over to Carter Anderak, who is the product marketing manager with Zero Emission Industries. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. Thank you very much, Roxana. We really appreciate all of the work that you did in hosting this webinar and putting everything on. So thank you so much again to your team. As Roxana mentioned, we are founding members of USHA, and we found that to be an extremely fruitful relationship. I want to take just a second to encourage anybody on this call that isn't currently a member to greatly consider becoming one. My name is Carter Andrick, and as Roxana mentioned, I am the product marketing manager here at ZEI. I joined the team about a year ago to help bring our newest product, FTcase, to market. My experience comes from marketing and sales in the Bay Area, and I'm privileged to introduce you to our newest product today, FTcase. What you can expect today from this webinar is going to be a quick introduction into who we are at ZEI, followed by a few slides on our product FTcase. We're very excited to incorporate a live demo for you all. And after that, I'm going to then close out the presentation and open it up to questions. So with that, I've got my coffee in hand, so let's go ahead and just get started. Let's jump into it. ZEI is a hydrogen technology company. We specialize in building infrastructure and power systems for real-world adoption. We're a team that's built and led by world-renowned hydrogen experts, including our chief CEO, our chief in command, Dr. Joe Pratt. Our team consists of over 20 employees, and we're growing quickly. Our headquarters is in South San Francisco, and our plans to expand into the building next door are going to come into fruition within the next few weeks to months. We have investor backing from Chevron, Trafigura, and Crowley Maritime, but we're most famous for our work developing all of the hydrogen power systems aboard the Sea Change ferry. If you haven't heard of the Sea Change, it's the world's first commercial hydrogen ferry. It operates in San Francisco Bay currently and runs from Pier 39 to the ferry building. It's operated by Blue and Gold Fleet and runs every weekend for free. So if you ever find yourself down by the ferry building, I highly suggest you hop on for a ride. Not only is it an awesome and fun ride, but you also are in San Francisco Bay, which is a pretty nice backdrop to have. But I have to say I am a local, so I might be a little bit biased at that. When we built a world's first, you can imagine it was a bit of a challenge, and doing it in an environment such as maritime didn't exactly make it easier. But what it did allow us is the opportunity to learn, and we learned a lot. Pulling into a public pier for a fueling is a complicated process. And when you add hydrogen to the mix, it makes it significantly more difficult. We immediately recognized after building the sea change that there was a gap in full-scale adoption. Like many of you are probably recognizing now, we were thinking, how are we going to fuel this asset which we just spent millions of dollars and years developing? At the time, we didn't have any sort of solution for that. So we did what we do best, and we innovated our way out. We developed an entirely new technology system that sits aboard the sea change. It allows the ferry to pull up to the pier, pull up to the dock, and fuel directly from a supply trailer, much like you would with a traditional diesel ferry. The sea change, or excuse me, FTcase is a decade evolution of that system that is aboard the sea change. We took that entire system and shrunk it down to the size of a carry-on suitcase. FTcase transfers hydrogen from your supply down to your user. It does not store hydrogen within it. It monitors the flow rate, so you will never have any sort of over-temping or over-pressuring of your tanks. It's a portable hydrogen refueler that can be set up by one person and operated by one person in any location. It can even be put on the back of a pickup truck, easily moved to your project site. Again, it's the size of a carry-on suitcase. When we tell people that, we actually do get a lot of surprise. They immediately assume that we're talking about a giant suitcase for a family of 5 traveling internationally. But the reality is it's a quick, small, grab-and-go carry-on suitcase that could fit in the overhead compartment. I'm not saying you try, but you can. I just think you might have a little bit of tough with security getting through the airport. When we developed the FTcase, we did so in mind with 4 key tenets. That's safe, easy, flexible, and cost-effective. Obviously, we wanted to build a safe product. Hydrogen is tricky, so we had to do a few things to make sure that FTcase would ensure a safe fill every single time. It contains integrated fail-safe systems that prevent issues like leaks, over-temping, over-pressurizing, and user error, which we know can occur. Not only does it have to operate safely, but it has to do so in all environments, including the harshest ones. We put FTcase to the test last month when we took it down to Coolidge, Arizona. We did a demonstration for a major OEM down there. And I don't know if you know this, but Coolidge is in the middle of the desert. And of course, when we were there, it was the middle of a heat wave. So with degrees reaching 115 plus, FTcase was able to conduct a safe fueling without over-temping any tanks in the harshest of conditions. There's no technical staff required to operate the FTcase, making it extremely easy to use and set up. Setup can be accomplished in less than 10 minutes. When we did our demonstrations, we made sure to invite members of the press as well as respected OEM sales members. The reason for that is because we really wanted to have those individuals orchestrating the fuelings. It really helps to tell the story of how easy it is when you have somebody who has no experience with hydrogen and fueling a Class 8 truck. When they did this every single time, to the amazement of everybody except for ZEI, they were able to do it on their first fill. That's how easy this product is. FTcase also had to be flexible. It had to be small, something that you can move around to where work needs to get done. Not only that, but it needs to be able to toggle between all sorts of different applications. There are a lot of applications that are powered by hydrogen, and we wanted FTcase to be able to support every single one of those. When we attended ACT Expo in Las Vegas earlier this year, we had a demonstration in an open parking lot where we incorporated 2 different fuel cell trucks and a passenger fuel cell car. we were able to seamlessly transition and toggle from truck to car. This was done efficiently and easily due to the flexibility of FTcase. Not only that, but after that demonstration, we learned that one of the fuel cell trucks did not actually have enough hydrogen to make it the way back to Los Angeles. So what we did was we followed behind them on their drive, and we pulled over in the middle of nowhere in a random parking lot, and we topped them off and gave them enough hydrogen so they could complete their trip home. This was 100 miles from the nearest hydrogen station. We didn't want to build $1 million asset. It's not that. It's not $1 million commitment. The reason for that is we didn't think that that's what the industry really needed right now. We wanted to build a product that unblocks hydrogen, and FTcase does exactly that. Having $1 million price tag only kind of delays deployment and complicates this process. In our discovery conversations with potential customers and during demonstrations, we identified 3 major use cases that the FTcase can support. The first is obvious: fueling. There are assets today that cannot get access to hydrogen because there is not a solution that fits their needs. FTcase can fuel every application on the market: buses, trucks, cargo handling equipment, and boats. There's no application that FTcase cannot fill. The second is fleet maintenance. When your trucks or applications need to be serviced, they first need to be defueled. FTcase can support with that. First fills are kind of a tricky process. They need to be done extremely slowly so as not to damage any liner that's within the tank. FTcase, by monitoring the flow, can support with that. Controlled test fills, they need a tool that's flexible enough to conduct test fills when and where they need to be done. The flexibility of FTcase can again support that. The third use case that we've identified is operational improvements. The reality is today, many stations, all stations really, experience planned and unplanned outages. FTcase can be a tool when those outages occur, ensuring that their customers can continue getting service despite the station being down. Not only that, but some projects have timelines that are, as we know, very long, but some also have timelines that are very short. They're so short that they really do not warrant building expensive infrastructure that will take an extremely long time. FTcase can provide that temporary fueling solution for those short-term projects. And not only that, but a lot of projects are done in remote locations, ones that mobile refuelers simply cannot get to. FTcase can be put on the back of a truck and taken to that remote location. Now, instead of me telling you about how you could use FTcase, I think it's probably the best time now to pass it to our product team. Jordan Zimmerman is going to walk you through a live demonstration, which we're extremely excited about. So why don't we pass it on over to him?
Hi, everyone. You kind of join us on a bit of a cold and windy day here in San Francisco. As Carter said, thank you, Carter, for passing it over. We're going to do a bit of a live demonstration for you, kind of highlighting the setup, fill, and breakdown of the FTcase to really kind of give you an idea of just how easy it is to do a fill with the FTcase. Without further ado, let's get right into the setup. Kind of stressing the flexibility aspect of the FTcase. We really want, we recognize the need through our work on the sea change of really having something that can fill anywhere where the need arises. And this is why one of the main ethoses or main pillars that we designed the FTcase around. We were able to set up a pretty impromptu fueling station or temporary station here just in our kind of right before in front of our shop. And this, as you can probably imagine, this provides huge value to anyone who needs to have assets in an area where there isn't necessarily fueling assets or opportunities or stations at this point. So we really want to design a system that can be deployed anywhere and you can conduct the fueling anywhere. We also have a couple physical, just in this initial setup, we have a couple physical safety features, such as keyed connections, which will ensure that an operator is not going to plug the wrong ports into the FTcase. You're not going to plug in your input to your output and vice versa. And as quickly as that, we're kind of already into our next step, which is the initialization steps. And this is all done, completely automatically through the FTcase. What's going to happen is going to give you an idea, as you can't see the screen, what's going on right now. This is going to be a short leak check. And what that's doing is it's checking everything from the connection point on the supply all the way to the nozzle through which you're going to be filling a customer asset, just to make sure, obviously, we don't want any hydrogen building up in a fueling area, just to make sure that there's no hydrogen leaking where it shouldn't be. Then the next step in this process is there are 3 purge checks. And what this does is it blasts hydrogen through the lines to clear out anything that's not hydrogen. We don't want anything other than hydrogen going into our customer assets. Because as I touched upon before, Frank had a bit of a flurry of action at the beginning to kind of plug everything in and confirm that all the steps were done. Again, this box really walks you through it. It has you confirm every step of the way that, yes, the vent line is plugged in. Yes, the input and output are plugged into the right ports. He really doesn't have to do much anymore. This is a completely automated process. The FTcase will give you visual indications at the success or failure, in the rare case that those happens, of each of these leak checks and purge checks. And that, of course, will prompt a premature abort of a fill. But in this case, everything is going along as planned. And it's just giving you a visual indication in the form of a check mark that each of these subsequent steps have been completed successfully. Touching upon upon the ease of use, we wanted to make sure that anyone with minimal training could operate this. And one of the main parts of that is removing the need to really, monitor the pressure at which you're stopping the fill and and the flow rate. We want that job to be taken out of the hands of any operator, because we're expecting this to be used by anyone. And so that is what the FTcase does. And then Carter touched upon that. It goes through a pre-programmed configuration where all you really have to do is click a start button on a fill, and it'll fill it up to a set point agreed upon, to whatever customer asset you really need to. All these customer assets obviously have different pressures at which they want to stop at, usually 350, 700 bar. So that it'll just go through a fill and stop at the desired set point. That kind of takes me to my next point of another point of flexibility. Everything that you see behind you in the FTcase, and then all the kind of accompanying hoses and vents, all rated to 950 bar. So we really wanted to be able to accept pressure from any source and to be able to step that down to whatever pressure you need for your customer asset. And another point to safety, again, we're kind of, as we're going through this, there's a big fear, obviously, when you have an enclosed space like this, you want to make sure everything is fully rated to handle that sort of pressures. Everything is rated to 950 bar, but also on the electrical side, we need to make sure that we're being safe. Everything in the box is class 1 div 2, so explosion proof. Nothing that's in there is not, everything that's in there is meant to be there and really safe. So that kind of concludes with, now that Frank is plugging in the nozzle, that really concludes the initialization, the setup. So we've gone through, just to recap, we've gone through a leak check of all the hoses and the internals of the FTcase, and then through 3 purge cycles. And now we're ready to start the fill. We're really just going to put in a couple grams of hydrogen. That's not kind of, the main stars are just the automation of all of these processes. So we don't want to sit around here and wait for a lot of hydrogen to go through. We're just going to end the fill pretty early. And that leads us to our next kind of part of the process, which is a really quick and easy breakdown. Again, all automated. What will happen is you may be, depending on how much the mic is picking up, you may have already heard it, but there's going to be a controlled venting behind me to really ensure that everything is de-energized and ready to kind of be and safe to turn off. This is a process that happens again completely on its own. It does it in a controlled way, and the FTcase manages that. And that kind of brings me to my next point around, again, safety. We really want to make sure that we're being safe here. All of the quick connects that you see behind me that are attached to, the customer that are leading into the box, they have a physical safety lock. You cannot disengage them when there's pressure present. So it's going to go through a bit of a venting process here, and then we'll be safe to power off, in a minute or so. Yeah, so that, as we're kind of drawing down and as we're bleeding out more pressure, we really we hope that we were able to kind of bring across to you guys just how easy this is to set up and complete a fill. Really, anyone can do. We have members from our team who've never really dealt with hydrogen as much before. We have them for a quick kind of safety briefing. We have them conducting fills. We've had customers conducting fills, and in our demos, everyone's been really impressed, and we've been really thankful that they value kind of the flexibility, ease, and safety as much as we do. And with that, I think we're all broken down, ready to power this thing off and head back into the office. So thank you so much for being a part of the demo. Yeah, I'm going to hand it back off to Carter, who's going to talk through some more information and then address some questions later. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys in there later for the questions.
Awesome. Way to go, guys. That was really cool. I'm going to just go ahead and get this presentation up on the screen. Just give me 1 second and I'll be right back at it. There we go. So as you saw, and as Jordan mentioned, the FTcase, as Jordan mentioned, the FTcase demonstration that we were able to provide for you was kind of just a quick splash taste. Given the amount of time that we have in this webinar, we wanted to make sure to show you what we could, but we had to do what we can in the time that was provided. In our calculations, as well as in our demonstrations, we've identified that the FTcase can fuel any application that exists on the market today in approximately 30 minutes or less. This is, again, trucks, buses, boats, cargo handling equipment, light passenger vehicles. Infrastructure is a big space. We fully understand that. And we know that there's really no argument that permanent infrastructure and mobile refuelers don't have their place, because they do. FTcase provides customers with an alternative option. It helps to complete that puzzle. It's easy to get started. And in less than 12 weeks, you can have an FTcase in hand. As we expand, we do expect that time to shrink. Its potential downtime is 24 hours. If you ever had a downed box, you were to simply ship it to us in South San Francisco. And as soon as we're notified of a downed box, we will ship you a functioning replacement to be in hand the next day. Again, FTcase is operatable by any single person. It can be set up by any single person anywhere. There is no technical experience that is required to operate FTcase. And all of this is done with an extremely small footprint. Again, it can be put on the back of a trailer or back of a truck. Not only that, but it's done for a fraction of the cost. And now that I've kind of teased out costs, and I know you guys want to know more about it, let's go ahead and let's answer that one. FTcase is available now. And for that, you get a serviceable product that's up to date with software and hardware, is simple, safe, and easy to use every single time. We're offering FTcase for $15,000 a month with a minimum order term of 12 months. Thank you very much for listening to our presentation today. It was a real pleasure to introduce you to FTcase as well as introduce you to ZEI. If you would like to know more, please do not hesitate to reach out. One of the things that we love to do is show off and back up our work. So please, if you have any questions, my email and phone number are on the screen and you can happily reach out. I will also be more than happy to share the spec sheet if you wish. With that, I'm now going to pass it to our Chief of Staff, Ricky Elder, who will help us with questions.
Thanks, Carter. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us here today. I'm Ricky Elder, the Chief of Staff over here at Zero Emission Industries. I just really quickly want to say that I am just insanely impressed and proud of the FTcase team and all the hard work that's gone in from the product team, the go-to-market team, the engineering organization to really make this product come to fruition. It's been, like Carter said, years and years in the making, from identifying a challenge that we saw on the sea change and before, and translating that into a product that we think will really enable adoption pathways in the market. I think that's the thing that I'm most excited about the FTcase, is it will really help get hydrogen in the hands of people that are maybe not quite ready for a full-on permanent infrastructure investment, or just need an easier adoption pathway. I also really want to quickly shout out Yusha for hosting us today. We've been a member for the past 4+ years. Like Roxy said, we're a founding member, and it's just been instrumental to our success having Roxana as a resource and a point of contact, but also being out there advocating for hydrogen is essential to help grow our market. So like Carter said, if you're here and you're not a member, consider being one. And with that, I'll have Carter and Jordan join us back on Carter's side to answer some questions that we might have from the audience. So looking at the chat, I see a question from Greg Hester. Hi, Greg. Thanks for submitting a few questions I see. For starters, I think we answered this question in the demonstration, but we'll go over it again. Greg is curious, what refueling pressure does the technology support?
Oh, I'll hop right in. Yeah, I can actually see his question in the chat, questions in the chat right here. But yeah, so to jump into the kind of fueling pressure that the FTcase accepts, we accept everything, up to 950 bar. The internals are rated for a little bit higher, but we cap it around 950 bar. So anything up to there is just fine. We can step it down to any kind of desired customer set point or end pressure.
Great. Jordan, following that up, do you have an answer for the throughput/flow rate for our FTs?
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, this will vary. From moment to moment, the FTcase regulates flow to make sure that we don't exceed, kind of temperature rating for the tank and obviously the pressure ramp rates for the tanks that they require. But if you were just to kind of look at it on a second by second basis, if we're taking a snapshot, we can go from anywhere from 0.5 kilograms a minute to 6 kilograms a minute. Of course, the higher flow rates you're probably not going to see on a Type 4 tank array or some of these Class 8 trucks that are using even Type 3 tanks. You can probably get a little closer with Type 3 just because of how Type 3 is able to bleed off temperature a lot more quickly than the Type 4 tank. But yeah, we can see anywhere from 0.5 to 6 kilograms a minute of flow rate through the box or through the case.
Awesome.
Excuse me.
Jordan, following up, another one, curiosity around J2601 compliance.
Yeah, so this is one we can't really be compliant with J2601-1 just because we don't have any pre-cooling capabilities. This is purely, and this is kind of talking to the next question as well. This is purely a cascade system. And we don't have pre-cooling integrated with this one. We also don't have compression integrated with this one. So for these first units, we're really looking to get, the ideal case would be we are getting OEM approval. We can follow a lot of the ramp rates that are specified in J2601. Some of the newer ones like -2 and -5 have some contingencies for 350 bar fueling at ambient temperature. And so we can certainly follow the ramp rates predicated in those in those kind of documents. But what we also are really envisioning is we want to build a custom configuration for our initial OEM customers. So we'll come and we will first kind of use kind of our own capabilities here to really get as close as possible to an idealized configuration, and then we'll come out and test it and actually confirm with you that this is, this is something that you are fine with implementing into your fleets and using on your assets. So we're not sending you, or at least, definitely in these early phases of launch, we're not going to just be sending you a box with, these very generic profiles. We will make one custom to your kind of asset.
Yeah. And really the key bit of information there is the fact that we're seeking OEM approval.
Yes.
With that, we're not in conflict with J2601. Thank you for the question.
Great. Well, with that, I don't see any other questions in the chat. I don't know, Roxanne, if you see anything else in there, but
I see it in the Q&A.
Oh, gotcha.
gotcha. I see that. Yeah, another question from Greg. Greg, thanks for all these questions. Is temperature management integrated into the FTcase?
So we, manage the temperature just by essentially, if for example, we were filling in a very high ambient temperature environment, we would essentially have to slow the fueling down quite a bit. We've seen in the past with other partners that we've talked about, they're willing to forsake, let's say, an extremely quick fill without pre-cooling for the flexibility of the FTcase. But we really, so in that case, if we were fueling in adverse conditions like we did, for example, in Coolidge, it would affect the fueling time, but we were able to stay underneath the tank limits that are that are set by the manufacturers of these pressure vessels by essentially slowing down the fill.
Yeah, and in Coolidge, we actually accomplished staying well under that.
Yes,
Yeah.
they kind of threw the OEM kind of threw a much lower temperature that we had to stay under than even the tank manufacturer suggested, and we were able to get a fill with even with kind of those last minute kind of extra guidelines thrown our way. So
I think it was what, less 10 degrees?
10 degrees, yeah, 10 degrees Celsius less. So which is especially when you're starting at an ambient temperature that's already so close or quite high, every degree is pretty critical. But yeah, we were able to stay underneath that temperature cutoff that they set for us.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And one final question, which maybe is a good opportunity for Greg to reach out to us and get on a call to learn more one-on-one with a member of the team. But he's curious about if we've acquired third-party compliance certifications or working towards these.
So are you talking about, so we are right now, we're still a very small company. We are more focused on, providing a kind of, working through our initial customers and making sure that they're really comfortable with it. Everything in the box is Class 1 Div 2, so it's properly rated to be in a hydrogen environment, but the system as a whole is not rated at the moment. That is something that we are going to, probably look to in the future, but not, at the moment in these initial phases. Cool.
Thanks, Jordan and Carter. Yeah, I think that's everything I see for questions today. Yeah, I guess with that, I'll thank once again Yusha for having us, and thanks to Carter and Jordan for talking everyone through the FTcase. This is a super valuable opportunity that once again I see lots of opportunity to market, and I'm excited to see what it'll do. So
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen, for this great presentation. This is exactly what we really want to help, spread the message around across the industry that there's innovative solutions to solving our problems. Hydrogen, historically, we've had quite a number of issues that we've been, faced with to overcome, and that really has strengthened us as an industry. And so thank you so much, guys, for your great praises. At the U.S. Hydrogen Alliance, we certainly love to support our members as well as the hydrogen industry as a whole, and all the decision making that occurs in-house really is for the greater good of all. And so We look forward to hosting many more of these webinars in the future. We look forward to connecting with all of you again. Please check out our LinkedIn page, our website, about information that we're posting. We share great news online as well as our events. And so we actually have our next policy leaders convention actually in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We have nearly 50 policymakers that will be there in person. And so we're so excited about that. And of course, we're excited to be in Pennsylvania, the site of 2 hydrogen hubs. So something historic in itself. So thank you everyone for your time and your attention. And you can catch some of our information right there in the chat. Thank you so much, Lexi. And we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye, everyone.